Thank you for joining XROM, India's first AR/VR focused podcast. And I'm your host, Eddie Avil. And this is the place where you get to see and hear the latest when it comes to augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and the metaverse from India as well as around the world. And this we cannot do without you. So please do not forget to subscribe as well as ring the bell. XROM, the home of extended reality. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Vishal Kawji, who's the founder of Interactive digital 3D art production company, Polyphonic Technologies. They offer virtual production studio setup services and have served as consultants for India's inaugural educational virtual production studio by Aptech, called the Virtual Production Academy. And we have already had him on the podcast. He's a good friend, and he's been somebody who's been climbing up the ladders of XR technology very, very fast. So Vishal, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. The conversation obviously is going to be about virtual production today. But it'll be great if you could, start with from where we left off, which is back in 2019. That's when we spoke on the podcast, though we speak very often because we are good friends. We're doing the same thing. But what's your journey been from there, 2019 till 2020, 23? What's how are things evolved according to you when it comes to virtual reality, the metaverse industry, and also your personal friend?
So hi Eddie, and thank you for having me here. It's my pleasure. Every time I speak to you and looking at overall the things happening, all the updates and everything, it actually encourages me also. From the start, like when I started the company, I remember we were like 2-3 member team, and that was the first podcast I had with you. I don't know what gave you that idea that you should be having me on the podcast. And today I'm sitting after 2 years, my company is registered and there's a lot of things happening. From that 2-member team, now we have grown to a 70-member team. And we are now located in Juhu. We have a little heritage bungalow, what we have now converted into a studio, and it's a state-of-art facility with 70 odd people. As well as we have done our TPIN certification, and we are trusted partners with Netflix and Amazon. So that's what's been happening, and majorly where we left off. So we had on the podcast also, I mentioned that we had a vision of taking up the technology and pushing it into the conventional market. And I think so somewhere or the other we are now successful. Like last time when I was talking about Unreal, Unity, and I mentioned you also, like it was a very hard point for us to convince content makers that these are also the technology. And look, today we are into it. I have been successfully delivered Gadar, where we did a lot of Unreal in it, a lot of not complete virtual production, I can say, but yeah, somewhere or the other we have pushed in a lot of real-time technologies into this project. Simultaneously, we are doing a couple of more Bollywood projects, which are again good budgeted, and some projects which are going to really create limelight. So that's what we have been up to right now. And obviously from XR space, the things have been grown a lot. Recently, we are now started up with our own IP. It's a mythological game what we are trying to build. And already the deployment is done, and some of the known creative artists are in association with us. And in coming time, maybe in 6-7 months, it's going to go live, and we are going to announce that we are now building it up, and things are going to happen like in this kind of a genre.
Lovely, yeah, Vishal. I mean, I still remember, when we had first met, and you mentioned, right now that what gave me the confidence of having you on the show. It was, I think, your determination. And when we met at the studio, you had come with this very simple, but like a 2D to 3D conversion, app that you're building, and obviously you were trying to find or dig deeper into the technology and find ways how it could benefit the entire the filmmaker community. So yes, I think you have been one of the first movers, brave, resilient, gathered a team, And that's the testament towards you becoming the partners of Netflix, Amazon, and being part of Gadar 2, which was such a groundbreaking breaking film in the Indian film industry. And now you said that you have also created an IP, which is a mythological game. Looking forward for that, and I'm sure you'll keep on breaking grounds because that's in your nature, and that's what I meant by that's what I think I saw in you, and that's the reason I said, okay, Vishal has to be on XRM podcast, and I'm sure there's more bigger things to come. Now, let's talk about this Aptech collaboration, this consultancy gig that you have done with Aptech, the educational industry, platform. Talk about that, and maybe before you talk about the works done with Aptech, maybe I think it'll be nice if you could kind of explain what virtual production is for the people who don't understand it, and how it's kind of revolutionizing the film industry at this point in time.
Great. So I'll first start about virtual production because there is a lot of myth revolving around it still today. Usually, what happens is, like, I'm just speaking from my side, whatever I have understood in this 4 years when I was trying to dig deep into virtual production. When the COVID just struck and announcement of Mandalorian happened, there was one common word which came out, which was Unreal. And this is something which I have been using and working, and my company has been following for a very long time. And that's where we understood that, yeah, we can also play a part in it. And let's start exploring where it goes. So that's where all the virtual production journey started for me and my subordinates. The first thing which got involved into is so now first the major component which people always look about is LED wall. So there is a myth that whenever virtual production is, there has to be an LED involved into it. But then virtual production, what I feel is not actually LED screens, but as the name says, it's virtual production. So anything in the production getting replaced by virtual is called as virtual production. Now, it is not LED screen only, but it could be green screen also. It could be the way you build your assets also. It could be motion capture devices also. It could be camera trackers also. It could be your lenses, the new lenses which have been come up. It could be a tool called Eximetry, which replaces real-time chroma. So all of these small components come together and create a thing called as virtual production. And whichever filmmakers, they are using LED or not, they are using the traditional ways of building stuff, or they are using the modern ways of doing it. But then if they are able to replace things virtually, then we should call it as virtual production, not only production happening on a LED screen. So so what happened is, first thing what we got was, there was a serial called as Dharma Yudh Garuda. That was one of the TVC where virtual production was used. Now, in that time, when I'm talking about 2021-22 time, that was the time when the budgets for TV serials were, today also it is less. But then imagine getting virtual production into it was something which was shocking to me also, because when I was reading about it, I was also known that, yeah, LED screen is what virtual production literally means. But then when I started with that project, that is the time when we used meta-humans. We created a meta-human of that character. It was not a humanoid character. It was having wings. It was having some armors, and it was all stylized in Indian mythological form. So now, the first problem was, if we take a traditional route of developing a character in CG, it's going to take us a long time, as well as the budgets. I am pretty sure the budgets are not going to allow when it comes to TVCs. So that is the time we took a route of using meta-humans in it. There were a few processes, but then it fastened out our things, like the traditional way of doing photogrammetry, then making our artists sit for long hours and build up that character, then rig it, then animation. Everything was, moved out of the picture. And in around 15-20 days, we were able to get a hyper-realistic character, which was ready to animate, ready to look dev, ready to do everything. And we were following a real-time route because as we were getting into virtual production, we were taking out some theories. Might it work? Might it not work? Because MetaHuman was at that time into version 1, which was again a beta, where it was not launched for commercial use. But still, we had a talk with Epic guys. They helped us out, and that was successful. Now came the animation part. Like when the animation came out, we were first struggling, like, how many animators it will take, because when you are working for daily shows, the deadlines are very steep. So how do we get out of that? So we used motion capture devices. Xsense is something what we used, and it gave us amazing results. And that is how we were able to do animation on it. And then first couple of like the trailer sequence, first couple of episodes, we were able to do pretty good in it. But then suddenly, it was not a daily show first. It was 2 episodes a week, I guess. But then suddenly, Sony Sub announced that we are going to do it into a daily show, and that's where the trouble started. Now, how do we get out of that? Is what was the problem, because whatever you are shooting, you are taking the camera, doing the digital camera tracking, and then that is also a process. Then compositing is one of the process. So then we started getting more deeper into it, and we started thinking, well, let's take out one processes and speeden it. So the major process was camera tracking. So we used something called as Encam, which is a small device which goes on a camera. And what it does is it gives you the lens data and the positional data of the camera into Unreal. So my tracking, the camera tracking part was all lost. And that's where we started thinking, now the things are getting more faster. Then was the facial. Initially, our facial characters, like the artists were doing the facial animation and all. And again, facial animation and getting it to the T is again a tedious job. So now what to do? So then we got into faceware. That is a tool which is like a very known tool in the industry, and that helped us out for doing the facial capture of it. So that's where literally we started. And then came a problem of green screen. So now how do we remove that? So then we tried a couple of options. Encam had a keyer. We tried that. Then we used something called as Ultimat, which is from Blackmagic. That we tried out. So now these couple of things, the way we got into virtual production is not by theories, but by on-ground troubleshooting part is what we started with. That's what gave us a very good hold on to what virtual production literally means and how it could carry on. Now, after that time was passed, there was another serial which was announced by Contilo. That was Taj. A lot of promotion was done. And that is the time when we thought, like, let's get complete onto virtual production and let's target some unnatural deadlines and let's try to achieve them. And I think so it was successful. Looking at the quality of Taj which was delivered, it was really good. That's where we went into previs also. Now, the main problem with Indian industry is they don't do pre-planning a lot. So pre-visualization and tech visualization are two key elements when you are getting into virtual production. If you are not planned about which shots are going to go onto virtual production and which shots are not going to go into virtual production, you literally go into a chaos and a mess. And these devices are really expensive. So using them and failing is a big financial problem also. So that's what we literally did for Taj. We did a lot of pre-planning. And that was virtual production. That is the reason why it was successful. And the show is again a very good show, and the work gone behind it is pretty good. Then we started thinking about why not take this and go to content creators who have no idea about it, and let's help them out and see what comes out of it. So that was the time when there was a documentary announced by Friday Films. That's Neeraj Pandey. And they after Kohinoor. So if you look at a show on Discovery Plus, that's Kohinoor. It is all about how Kohinoor traveled and what was the journey of Kohinoor Diamond and where is it and what is the thing behind it. Between the documentary, there were 2D elements which were showcased. Like to tell the story of that time, they used 2D as the medium. And while this new documentary called Vadnagar, which was there was also a little bit of political agenda because our PMO is from Vadnagar, so it was a very important film. And the cutscenes, they wanted to be really crisp, and they wanted to experiment something with 3D. Now imagine a documentary having 20 minutes of CG in it, and that too of around 60-70 characters with hyper realistic stylized backgrounds, and all of that, the budgets were overshooting. So we had a couple of meetings, and then we said, okay, let's experiment with Unreal open source. We don't have to pay to the software. That cuts down a lot of cost of us. That was one part. The second part was using all of these faster techniques, which will help us to deliver it in time. So we explained them what this technology is about, and they got convinced, and they said, okay, let's do a trial, and if it works, then let's make it happen. And literally, it happened with a member of with a team size of around 7 people. We tried to churn out 20 odd minutes of CGI, and it involved around 60, 70 characters. It involved PGs, it involved storytelling, and also this whole stuff which we created. Epic, like Unreal guys also appreciated it. I shout out to Amit Naik for that. He helped us out a lot, to spread this. These guys are doing something good. And the quality was really expressive. Now I'm getting a lot of orders for this. Getting CG into documentary and small time storytellers is becoming very simple now. So that was again, which was an eye opener, that virtual production is not only real time VFX, and not only for that industry, but also for the CG industry who wants to completely get into a fantasy world and doesn't want to shoot anything which is real, but get into a complete CG zone. That is something what we then started. Now, once we were into the industry and people started hearing about us, that's when Aptech came to us. And Abhir, who's vice president, he had a small discussion with me regarding, we also want to set it up for our movie, our virtual production floor, what we are building. And specifically, we are doing it for the ecosystem where we could train the students. So that, again, training has been a very good thing what I like to do in my life. So I was like, let's do it, and that's where we started all the planning. And this floor has LED screen. It has a green screen chroma. It has a camera which is Blackmagic, and we have a lot of equipment from Blackmagic. It has trackers. It has motion capture suits. It has DMX and DMX lighting. So DMX is something which is, whenever you are controlling lights, there is a console which comes, and from that console you tend to control your lights. But then we have taken it more forward. What we have done is, the DMX is optimized, and whenever anything is happening in Unreal, let's say in Unreal you light your scene blue, the DMX control will actually change the physical lights to blue. You don't have to sit down and do all the DMX controls. So that's one of the pipeline which I'm very proud of creating. It's a very small amount of studios do have it with them right now. So all in all, that is what happened. And after Aptech happened, now people are calling us for consultant as a consultant, where any film, right now I'm doing a film. It's just started. I'm not going to, maybe in next podcast I'll show some glimpse of it. But the film is going to be, the shoot is going to start happening from August, and the star is Shahid Kapoor in it, and we are doing pre-visualization for it. And this movie is going to be full packed with virtual production. Like, we have now taken a call that this is going to happen in virtual production. We have started the previews accordingly. We have started the tech viz accordingly, and we have good amount of time. So that's what's happening.
Lovely, Vishal. Thank you for explaining and your journey. And you rightfully pointed out, if you are using some kind of a virtual, replacing virtual elements in your physical the way you kind of capture content, then it's called virtual production in some ways. And I think you started it in a way where looking at it in different elements, and now you understand the entire workflow, right from tinkering around for your series called Garuda, to leveraging MetaHuman over there, to your Taj, where you kind of understood how you could use camera trackers, your facial animation, leveraging previs, motion camera tracking, and so on and so forth. So I think Yes, I mean, when you talk about virtual production, I mean, when you talk about especially Mandalorian or any of these, big budgeted movies who are leveraging virtual production, that's like a huge setup because they're using these LED screens, and it's obviously it's not green screen, but I think in India we always have these jugaad approach to it, and I guess that's what I think the world is going towards. I mean, it's because I think technology stack is growing so randomly. I mean, and accelerating in such a funny way that all that we could have done maybe couple of years back with large hardware and I mean a huge budget is being enabled by like small budgets. What you could do like making films in these huge cameras can actually be done with a phone at this point in time. I was just going through, in fact I think I sent you like this link of this company called Lightcraft. They're also looking at ways where they could do virtual production itself through to just using phones and stuff like that. I still remember in 2016 I'd got into virtual reality, and we kind of like build our own 16 camera rig to create content. And today there are these applications such as Blockade Labs generative AI. It does just the entire 360 image just through your text. You just put in your text and voila, you've got your entire image out. There's Mid Journey, there's Pika Labs, there's Runway, and there's so many others who are actually doing text to complete world building. There's a company I think I recently interviewed on the Once Changing the Podcast, the Once Changing the World podcast, and they have moved very very far away when it comes to creating content. And it's like you just type in text and you've got your video games being built out, your virtual worlds being built out. So I want to get into that, but before we get into that, talk to us about this whole combination of things, because you are tinkering around with small things, like using Unreal Engine for MetaHuman, and Unreal Engine obviously is being leveraged in virtual productions in a very very big way. So I mean, I would want you to share your thoughts. What makes Unreal Engine a popular choice besides the other 3D engine? What's the pros and cons of a green screen versus LED? And this Aptech Virtual Production Academy that you built, I mean, how long it took for you to put this all together, and what's the capability? What all can be done at this point in time at the virtual production studio?
Perfect. So first of all, about the overall perspective about all these AI tools and things happening around. See, first of all, there's always going to be a technological advancement. Like 3 years, 4 years back when we were talking about, that was the initial time of AI. And that time in my last interview also, I was building up a AI system where how interviews could be taken and how you can create a scenario where random questions will be asked from an AI. But look, after 3 years, it's been a game changer, and that's what's been happening right now. Virtual reality at that time was at its niche time, and now we are literally talking about mixed reality and Real with augmented reality glasses and everything coming out, and Mid Journey and all of these things. So there it is. What I feel is there will be always a human touch involved into it, because whatever computer is building, it is going to build it in a random scenario. But yes, it's going to look good, it's going to look polished, but the decisions where it needs to stop or how in which direction it needs to be moved is always going to be a human, because you're dealing with art. And when you have a wide range of audience, you need to always think from their perspective, not just giving them beautiful piece of artwork, but also where they connect with. And for that, obviously, human is necessary. So these tools are going to be future tools of an artist to develop its art. So MetaHumans, for example, when we were doing it for Vadnagar also, that time there were specific things and specific way descriptions of characters which were given to us, because we were dealing with a documentary, and there were a lot of government agencies involved into it. So we had to send these characters to them, looking at the way they are dressed, looking at their skin textures, they were approving it. So although the initial part was taken by the computer, but then the finalizing part, which is the most toughest part, in the process had to be done by our artists. So it's going to be feature tools. It's not going to hamper in any ways. If you can learn it today, like there was a time when posters were done using hand painting, but then there came a time where it started happening digitally. But then humans didn't stop there, saying, okay, this has happened. Humans started moving into motion posters. So as the technology grows, the expectation of humans is going to grow. Mario was supposed to be the best games at that time, but then look at Mario and look at the today's Horizon or maybe Far Cry. People have not stopped there, right? So and again, for building Mario, there were 5 to 6 people or maybe 20 people involved. But look at today's game when it called when you are thinking about Rockstar games, they're developing this GTA 6. Around 3-4 thousand people are involved. So technology is also giving leverage to jobs. They're also making a lot of things happen. So you should take it in that sense rather just be because I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn saying AI is there and ban AI and this and that. But somewhere or the other, everyone is using AI. Like if you consider 3D Max as a software, back then in when I was learning Max 4 or 5, that time it was a raw software. But today, if you see, there are so many AI tools already involved in it, and artists are using it. So that's also an AI. I don't know why people are making fuzz about mid-gen journey and this and that. It's there. Use it wisely, and it will happen. Like no, if you look at Microsoft Word, also it is an AI what you are using. Then why are you not banning that? So there is a spell check, there is a grammar changing in that. So that's what the overall picture is. I think so. People will understand and then they'll start leveraging it. So that's my take on the overall new future technologies which are evolving, and they are there to stay, and they are going to do good to us. We just need to be open-minded and start learning all of that rather being reluctant. I don't want to learn more, and that's where I want to stop and say, "Arey, yaar, ye kuch galat kar rahe." So that's what it is. Now, from the virtual production part, especially from LED and green screen. So there is a full blot. I'll say virtual production literally started on the sets of Avatar, where the facial camera was invented and how the overall expressions and the motion captures were done. That's why the quality at that time of Avatar 1 went way above than rest of the movies. And then that technology was taken forward by Marvel, DCs, and rest of the people. So now LED screen and green screen, there are two options. Now LED screens, they emit light. So lighting perspective, it becomes very easy to light up the scene and then put a real character into it and shoot it out. But there is a cost involved into it. So LED has a lot of cost effective in it, maintenance, as well as there are LED parts in it. So replacement and rest of the things are again a issue. Cooling is one of the biggest issues. The place in which you are shooting is again one of the big issues. So if you have that kind of budget and if you are looking at that grandness of things, then LED is the best options what is available right now. But then from the other side, green screen is also a good option where there is a little bit of post work. But if your post is good and you have a good team who's doing your post production, then I don't think so anyone could really make out whether it is shot on LED or it is shot on green screen. So that's the matter of thing. Either you eliminate the post, not completely, but some part of it by using LED, or you keep the post and use green screen. So you either spend on LED or you spend on a post production house. Depends project to project what is involved. But then when you are doing any film or any content on virtual production, as I told you, the planning has to be very perfect. And don't consider that I'm going to do complete film on virtual production. It never happens like that. There are some shots which will always be on virtual production if they need. If there is no need, you don't have to infuse virtual production in it. And there are some shots which do require virtual production. Use them. There's not a problem. It might be. I have seen a lot of people using LED as well as green screen simultaneously, depending upon shots to shots. So that's how the overall take on green screen and LED would be right now. And about the cost, there is about 80% difference in the cost in your production cost when you include LEDs into it. And being in India, getting LEDs getting the right people who understand LEDs, again, it's a big problem. And the biggest problem is our production people, like the DOPs, the other technicians. They are not aware about the complete process. So still they are stuck on the DMX lighting on the console. So whenever I talk about Unreal controlling DMX, that's something like an alien technology which not does not exist for them. When I talk to them about the first term getting changed and my lenses changing the camera of Unreal, still they feel it's magic. So already, like I've shot with a couple of DOPs, but they are more stunned with the technology, and then they forget to do what needs to be done. Their expectation do changes. So when there was one of the DOPs when when we were on the set and I showed him all of these things, adapting to that is again a bigger deal, because now they are dealing with digital lights. They are not dealing with physical lights anymore. The production guys who actually create the properties and they create the whole set, for them it becomes a challenge, because now half of the set is digital and only the foreground is something what they'll be building. So telling them and explaining all of these theories to them is what it'll take some time. It's not going to happen. But then yeah, we are at a very start point right now, and there are a couple of shows which people are thinking to do on virtual production. So that's what the overall take on green screen, LED, and rest of the technologies are. Now at Aptech, what we have done is so we have taken, as it's into education. So we have a small area about 1,000 by 1,000, where it's a square area what we have taken, and we have tried to include all the things which are included in today's virtual production, with future proofing it for coming 3 years more. So we have LED screen, which is from a very well-known brand, and we have a pixel pitch of 2.2. With all customization done specifically for virtual production. We have another LED dollies which are with high nits. So in LEDs also, there are three different types of LEDs which we use for virtual production. One is to capture, which is your background, which we capture the content from. It has to be very the pixel pitch has to be very small, so that you don't get those latencies, you don't get that moire around it. That is 2.2, which we have used. But when you go for lower pixel pitch, the nits, the intensity of light goes down. And the lighting, for lighting, we need a different sort of LED, which is not shot directly, but it emits light depending upon whichever environment you are into. So we have a couple of LEDs actually for the lighting up scene. One is on the ceiling, which is with high nits, but the pixel pitch is very low. So it's very high. It's somewhere around 3.5 pixel pitch, and the intensity of light is too huge. So you can literally change the climate, and that light will fall on the character, and it will feel like he's into that scene. So that's what we have. We have green screen solution over there. We have motion capture solution over here. We have good computers with very good graphic cards. We have virtual reality for virtual scouting, where so when we are training them for set building, virtual set building, then our students can actually get into virtual reality and make their own sets happen. So it has gist of everything in a very small compact area, and this will create a very good scenario for students to learn, as well as the content or the education way. The curriculum, the way we have written, is a very short curriculum. We are not putting it to 3 years, 2 years like rest of the brands are doing it. We are doing it in a very smaller way, where we tend to explain concepts to students. And what our vision is, that the students will go out in the market, go out in the shoot, and they'll share their technical bit about how to plan a shot. So that's what we are literally training the students to build, to become. Not to become filmmakers, not to become directors or anything, but to be those technology people, virtual production technology people, who understand the overall language of how things are. And if any shot needs to be taken on virtual production, then what needs to be done, like which cameras to use, which gen locks to use, how do you sync up everything together, which graphic card, what should be the computer. If let's say I want to build up a set, then what should be the technical thing behind it. That is what we are training our students to become. So looking at the overall matter of the moment, that would be the first phase, and then later on we can get into specialization, maybe environmental specialist, maybe motion capture specialist, maybe virtual reality specialist. So that is our future targets. So that is what the overall picture of from Aptech side is.
Congratulations to you and the entire team at Aptech, because to building out something like this is so very needed at this point of time, because like you were alluding to how the entire industry is going through a groundbreaking change, and we need to learn rather than complain, because I think life is about evolution. We've been evolving throughout, and so are our tools, and these tools are helping us. So we've got to constantly keep on leveraging these tools rather than saying, okay, that's it, I'm done, I know this, I'm like a star filmmaker and I'm not going to do anything else. Because I think the world is completely changing, and these tools are helping you to you know achieve bigger visions, do bigger things with smaller budgets and smaller tools. And we so badly needed institute or a virtual production educational academy that kind of teaches the new breed of students the new grammar or the new language of what the filmmaking is going to be. Because over the past few years, everything has changed, with this, I think, arrival of 3D engine. I mean, I think Unity and Unreal, and there's many more in the market now. There's Omniverse and so many others. I think the grammar of how we used to shoot films is changing, because more and more things are being digitized. You spoke about automating light, your DMX with Unreal Engine, there what maybe possibly like a large group of people who are doing it can be done now through just automation. And this is I think we just kind of understanding the language of what the future of filmmaking is going to be. Because we and kudos to you and Aptech to putting this together. And I'm sure a new breed of filmmakers, content creators will come, who will be able to kind of leverage the beauty of like any location in the world, whatever they want to shoot, wherever they want to shoot, whether in space, whether underwater, whether on top of the mountain, whether you want like a sunset or a sunrise shot, and like so there's so many advantages. Obviously, since we are in a nascent stage, like every nascent stage, the tech has a steep learning curve. Plus, it's a little expensive, but I'm sure with this acceleration of technology, all those things will also, come down. Obviously, I'm going to leave behind your contacts because you're consulting, and I'm sure it will help others, in the space who want to reach out to you. And I strongly recommend Vishal. The reason being, I think he's one of those guys who's consistent, resilient, and has been in the industry for the longest time. So any listeners who are thinking about setting up a virtual production, who don't have an understanding, I think Vishal is the right guy. You need to reach out to him. Obviously, I'll leave the contact details below. You mentioned the flow size is small. Elaborate on that. What is the flow size of Aptech? And obviously, I mean, right now your agenda, you clearly mentioned, it's about training these students and making them the future filmmakers. Would it also be open for content creators, filmmakers? Can they come and shoot? What's the price point if that's possible? What's the capabilities? Since you mentioned it's a small floor, what all things can be done if you ever plan to lease it out to content creators? Maybe just explain to those content creators that this is possible, this can be done. So then more and more people would want to kind of leverage the opportunity.
Perfect. So yes, we are. They are in thoughts of leveraging it to content creators. The floor size is around 1,000 by 1,000. So it's just a square, and specifically for product shoots. So if anyone is doing product shoot, this floor will give you all the things what is needed, and the LEDs, the kind of gadgets we have at Aptech, they are going to leverage everything, and they'll make things happen for a product shoot and smaller shoots. talks, like if you're doing any podcast, I think so, Eddie, whenever you are in Bombay, let's try it out. If you feel like, you can do podcast over here and see, you can literally sit in a studio or on a beach and do your podcast, and it looks believable with all the lighting and everything. So for that, it is very good. For esports, let's say if you want to do any commentaries, or maybe for a YouTube channel, if you're doing something, that's a very good flow to have. One very good thing what they have is motion capture. So there is a Rococo solution what they have with face capture as well as body capture simultaneously with fingers. So if anyone wants to do motion capture, they can have a talk. Right now, Aptech is had open doors for all the creators to check the floor. So if anyone wants to check it out, they can reach to people. I'll also share the contact with Eddie, and he can put it into the comments, so where they can call up and book out a slot. This is free. You can go check it out, see what is all the capabilities about, and then if you feel like, then again, our main motive at Aptech is not to make it commercial. It is to help the ecosystem, and training is something what we are doing. If any content creators with a very serious vision is coming, we do welcome. And budgets and everything that can be spoken about. As I told you, we want to test it out. Right now, it was like when we started, it was around 8 months. Full 8 months have gone into this process. And till today we are also evolving. We are trying to take out the most out of those hardwares what we have. So first 1 month went into planning, then started getting the hardwares, and getting those hardwares imported into India was a big trouble. One of our hardware was stuck into customs for 2 months. Paperworks, we had to pay more than what the hardware was about to just get it out of from the customs. So that difficult it is, and I believe Aptech is one of the place where you would find right now a true solution which is there. Rest of the people are telling this and that, and trying to give out reasons ki, this is not possible, that is not possible, LED क्यों करना है. But then the whole vision of Aptech to invest so much into it was to give a right solution and a straight solution that this is what the overall picture is. There is no second thought after this. So that's all about this floor. And huge shout out to Abir. He when we were working, I have worked with a lot of companies, but then specifically Abir was a person who literally had that vision. He had patience. There was nothing which was compromised. Like when I was giving the solutions, no, Abir, let's not do this because there's a cost involved in it, and we already have a solution for it. He used to say, no, my student needs to learn everything. Even a light meter is there to check what's the light of what the color of or the intensity of the LED's light is. Though my students are not going to use it, but then his vision was, if it's going to be on the floor and if there is going to be a 10% of chance using, then let my students learn. From cameras, like every lenses are there, right from any small thing which a camera person would need. It may be it may be a stand, or it may be a tripod, or it may be a Steadicam. So all of that is there. So I feel that's what these guys have done, and hats off that they are thinking so much for ecosystem and things are happening in a good way.
Right. That's so really awesome. You need people with a vision, and I think you also need to have the combinations of patience, because when you're tinkering around with this new technology, yes, it is going to be the future, no doubt. I think in the next possibly 10 years, I think more and more filmmaking, content creation are going to be done leveraging virtual production and virtual tools. And so, but yes, it also comes with a cost. So, kudos to Abhir and kudos to you guys to sticking it out and putting this together. My last question to you, Vishal. So, Polyphonic Technologies is not just into virtual production. You guys also do game design. You guys do metaverse. You guys do digital twin. There's some IP creation, so on and so forth. Leave us behind with maybe your services. What do you guys offer in the terms of metaverse, digital twins, and stuff like that? And
what as the medium?
What do you see in the next few years? How do you think this technology stack, whether it's metaverse, whether it's digital twins, whether it's virtual productions, whether it's tools like Unreal Engines, whether it's tools like generative AI, that we are all talking about, which is such in a hype cycle. How is all of these going to impact filmmakers, content creators, and those young students who want to get into it? What would be your advice to them?
So first of all, about Polyphonic Technologies. So there's only one thing what we do very good is develop content. That's something what we are really focused on. Now, just because content is our main route where we deliver assets, we deliver animations, we deliver visual effects. That's what our forte has been. And just because of the technologies, like if you want this content for VR, we are one of the companies who can literally make it happen for VR. We don't need a third party person who will outsource it and say, okay, we'll do the content and rest of the guys will do the VR content and VR creation of it. It might be DOH. Now you can see a lot of anamorphic screens. So where you can see things getting out of the billboards. So we were one of the ones who did it for the first time for a brand called as Manyavar, and it is still live on Commercial Street, Bangalore. So anyone in Bangalore, they can go and visit it. So they wanted a 3-minute content where they wanted a lot of characters, the cloth, and we used all of the technologies. So as I told you, the content is very important for us. How the story is going to be is what is very important for us. So that is something what we do pretty good. Yeah, now digital twin, if you want this content to get into digital twin, definitely we can do it. If you want this content to get into metaverse, we can do it. If there is a need, because we come from gaming background, I have more than 20-25 years experience on Unreal. After my 10th, I was sitting on Unreal, working with Unreal development kit. I was one of the person who saw the shift from Unreal being just a game mod builder to a complete engine when it released Unreal 3, and then till today. So we have that technology background from start. So yeah, if there is a huge project of metaverse where you need building up of the background, the front face, the back face, and everything, we can do it, make it happen. But right now, these all things are really in talks and with very high budgets. I don't know how many serious players are there. So that's the reason we have little back foot on this, saying we'll just do content. If you want a digital twin to be built, you want us to do photogrammetry, you want us to do accurate models, you want us to do any effects in it or any interactions in it, we will make it happen. But obviously, as I'm talking, there is very less serious players involved into it. Secondly, about how these things are going to impact the future. In one word, if you just be focused onto the content's quality, avoiding all the technologies and whatever it is, that's what you literally need to do at this point. Because these technologies, they'll come, they'll go, they'll change, they'll become more advanced. But then at the last, the content is what you're going to give it to the people. You are either into an entertainment field where you are creating games or films, either you are into education field or edtech where you are teaching people, or you are into a planning stage where you are building your metaverses and everything. But the root thing is, if you are doing entertainment, then your content is to be entertained, avoiding all the technologies. If you see Mario, it had so many simple things in it. It was just moving up and down and just pressing spacebar. If you see Candy Crush, it is just swiping. But the content is what people are really attached to, rather all the technologies which are revolving behind it. If you are into education, then your core agenda should be whether my student is getting educated or not. Leaving all the technologies behind. You use 3D, you use 2D, that's a different stage. You are leveraging it. But then is there a necessity of it putting in there? Because I have seen a lot of people coming to me and having meetings saying, let's use AR to teach students. Your core agenda shouldn't be AR to use to teach students. Your core agenda should be, will AR help my students to learn? is there any path involved in that, then that is something what you should be focused on. So that is what I tell everyone, and I think so. When we did Vadnagar, that proved us like that proved it so well that a small concept, and then bringing it to this level. Even the producers were in a loop. Then how did this delivered? So that is what the overall picture is.
Super, Vishal. Wish you the very best and wish you more success. And I'm sure the Virtual Production Academy is going to spawn the future breed of these filmmakers who going to be completely changing the landscape of how we create content. And you rightfully pointed out, I think, use something when you actually need it, not just because it's flashy and gimmicky. I guess the problem with I think the adoption of new technologies being slow is because I think most of the people go for it because it's flashy and gimmicky and it's cool to be into the space. I think we've been around in this space since the longest time, and we understand that. I think the only way these technologies are truly potential, but I think unless until we don't find the right use case or the right reason, the right fit, it'll just be an advertising marketing gimmick, and that's what largely I think it's been so far. Unless until you don't see the real world value, it's not going to cut through showing its real utility, adding real world value to the users. So yes, I think that thought of yours, I think all the listeners should kind of take in and know that tech should be leveraged only when it's needed and when it's only adding real value, not just because it's flashy and it's cool to, have like a metaverse or AR or anything like that. So, Vishal, thank you once again. Appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. Wish you and team Polyphonic Technologies the very best. Keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great work. And I'm sure there'll be more people who would want to reach out for your services, whether it's in the space of building games, IPs, AR, VR creation, metaverse, digital twins, or this new journey that you're on into consulting for virtual production studios. So kudos to you and to my listeners. If you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Vishal.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.